start anytime you want. That's crazy.
I saw one person on the shoot.
And I put a new pump in too, that.
I recorded it, so
Brent
it's
yeah,
good all around.
No,
Look
beautiful,
at it.
beautiful.
Isn't that bad?
All right, guys, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Good morning.
Morning.
All right, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys. So my name's Alex. I'm with Employers Resource, which is your payroll company. And as you guys are now aware, we also offer safety services. So what I'm here to do today is provide some safety material for you guys that should hit home. So what we're talking about today is heat illness prevention. So why is this important for you guys? Heat illness prevention. Why? Jay, why do you think heat illness prevention? I saw you reading the material. So why is it important for you?
Because we always work in compact areas and attics. You don't have to worry about heat under the house, I guess, but it could happen anywhere.
It can happen anywhere. And material that is related to safety, guys, you can take this anywhere that you guys go. And I'm going to give you guys a good example on how this material somewhat saved my life. So I'm a hiker. I love to hike. You know, my disposition might not show it, but I love hiking. I go to actually San Bernardino, and in that area, I do a lot of hiking. If you guys are familiar with that area, temperatures get pretty high up there, especially in the summertime, very similar to our area out here. So I was doing a hike with a friend, got up at about 2 in the morning, started getting ready, had our breakfast. So we were set. I got to her house because I live over here in the South Bay. So I got to her house at about 4 o'clock, so we were ready to go start our hike. So we get to the site, okay? The night before, I only had about 2 hours of sleep. Hydration-wise, I didn't drink anything. And if you guys are familiar with hiking or doing extracurricular exercise or anything of that nature, you guys know that you need to hydrate the night before in preparation of. So I didn't do that. So I started the hike, started descending, and I could already feel the toll on my body. I was already exhausted because I was already tired. So we get to about the 7-mile mark. We're going to Potato Mountain, if you guys are familiar with that hiking trail. It's a pretty steep hike, and it's pretty enduring. So I'm up there, and I start to feel the tax on my body. Okay, I'm starting to get exhausted, and you can tell because I'm lethargic in my walking. Okay, I'm breathing heavy in and out, and I'm already exerting my own body's capacity based on everything that I didn't prepare for. So I get to the top, we put our little potato, because the Potato Mountain has this thing where you can put your little potato and say, hey, I scaled the mountain. So we start descending back down, and it's a pretty easy descension. However, my body's already taxed. I have to stop every so often. It got to the point where if I didn't stop at the places that I stopped, my body would have gave out. Okay, what's happening to my body at this stage is heat exhaustion. The sun is being imposed on me. I'm sweating excessively. All these things that my body's trying to do to acclimate to the certain situation that I'm in. Now, luckily, I was able to make it at the very end. It was about 14.27 mile hike. So it was very, very enduring. I finished it and everything, but at the very end, when I got to my car, I was just exhausted. I think I laid in my vehicle for about an hour before I started driving home. So why this is all very important for you guys is because just as Jay mentioned, all this is related to exactly what you guys are doing on a day-to-day basis. You guys are going into crawl spaces. You guys are going into confined locations where the temperatures outside could be nice and 85-degree, 90-degree weather. However, once you're inside there, the temperatures start to exceed that. We're talking about 100-degree temperatures at times, 105-degree temperature. I'm gonna give you another example before we jump in. My son, he's about a 1.5-year-old, right? And in this case, he had a fever. Okay, his temperature got to about 103. So we called the doctor, and we were new parents at the time, so we called the doctor just on everything. A little cough, a little sneeze. We want to make sure he was fine. So in this case, we called the doctor. Doctor said just, be mindful of his temperature, take his temperature, give him medicine on intervals of every 4 hours. You should be fine. Call me if anything else. So we keep doing that. We realize that we have about a bottle left of medicine. So my ex-wife, or my wife at the time, decided to say, hey, why don't you go get some medicine so we can have some for the next day and we're not looking, to go last minute. So I go to a Sam's Club before they close, and I start to get the pack of the medication that he needs. I'm coming back, and I see my 2 brother-in-laws running outside. Now, these are practical jokers, so at the time I'm thinking, all right, they're playing a joke on me. So they're like, jump in the car. I see that they have something wrapped up, and they're like, go, 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 go. I look back, and I'm like, what's going on? So what ended up happening is my brother-in-law showed me that my son was just laid with no life whatsoever in his body, right? I started to cry. I'm driving, I'm panicking, but I'm driving. I'm running every red light. And at the time, I used to live in Compton. If you guys are familiar with the Compton area, then you guys know that it's not the greatest of areas. And during that time, they're actually closing down a hospital because it's not such a great area. It's Martin Luther King. So they had just closed it about 5 days before. Okay, we got there because that's the only hospital that we knew of. We didn't even know it was closed. But they accepted him in because they allowed about a week and a half to go to allow people to realize that the hospital was closing down. They accepted him, they ended up treating him, so his body temperature got up to 107 degrees, almost 108 degrees. He went into a febrile seizure. His body shut down. Within the 30-minute time frame that I went to go get the medication and back, remember it was 103 temperature, but it skyrocketed within those 30 minutes. So what happened, his body shut down because that was the only self-preservation that it could do. It decided to say, before I start executing some of these organs that are going to be affected, let me shut down. So that's what our body does. So the body plays a vital role when we're talking about heat. So now jumping into this, what are some of the elements that affect our body when it comes to heat? What do you guys think? The sun. So the sun is called radiant heat. Okay, very similar to an oven. If you guys are cooking, you guys feel that heat imposed on you. What happens is your body temperature starts to climb in those cases. It starts to affect your body. Now, what does your body do to expel some of that heat? Sweat. That's the body's mechanism, and it's something that you guys don't turn off and on. It just automatically does it. So our body starts to sweat. Now, what's another way that our body temperature starts to go up? We got the sun imposing on us. What else? Kevin said it when we came in here, when he came in here. The room temperature is what?
So it's hot, yeah.
It's hot in here. So that's another thing that starts to, our body here starts to rise, our temperature starts to rise. Okay, what's another thing? So we got temperature, we got the imposed sun, radiant heat, what else?
Humidity.
Humidity, that's another thing as well. And the last thing is the velocity of the air. Does anybody ride motorcycles? Yeah? So if you guys are riding a motorcycle at very high speeds with the wind now hitting you, that air velocity, as you go faster, you start to feel heat. And a lot of motorcyclists will tell you at those high speeds, they start to feel the heat on their bodies. So those are different ways that the elements start to affect their body. Now here are other things that start to affect our temperature. Now we're all different here, right? So in cases, my age is going to play a role in how I am able to expel some of the heat and how I'm able to absorb some of the heat. My body weight. Okay, for me, scaling that mountain was very difficult. It exerted me because physically, I'm just different. I'm a larger guy. Okay, there's physical characteristics. Okay, genetics that play a role. There's various different elements for each and every one of us that are going to be slightly different. So you have to, and this is important, you guys have to gauge yourselves on how you guys are affected by the heat as you guys are doing some of these job sites. Okay, so let's jump into how do we prevent this? What do you think is the number one thing that we should do to prevent our bodies from overheating?
Hydrate.
Hydrate, and we talked about that. How much water should you guys be drinking on a given day? What do you guys think?
Gallons. 2 gallons.
Now, you know, it's everybody's body's going to be different. But some people say gallon. Some people say, you know, it should be about a cup of water, you know, a couple cups of water. Okay, now in the normal circumstances, we're not talking about working in the, you know, Mojave Desert. We're talking about just within a practical day. About 8 cups of water is recommended that you drink. Mind you, everyone is going to be different. Now, temperature is about 105 outside or inside as we're working in some of our sites. We have to increase that. How much do you guys think water we should be drinking an hour?
Double it.
Double it? Okay, so we're talking about what? About 2 cups an hour? Maybe? Okay, it should be about 4 cups of water, which is 1 quart.
Okay.
That's a lot, right? Now let's be honest. Do we drink that much water within a given hour? We don't. We're constantly playing cat and mouse when it comes to hydration. Okay? What I mean by that is our body's expelling this heat, our body's sweating, yet we're not giving it the hydration that's necessary for the body. So this is an important thing, and I challenge you guys to adhere to what I'm talking to you guys about, because statistically speaking, many individuals are prone to having a heat stroke in environments within your industry, and I'm not trying to scare you, I'm just trying to paint a good reality, okay? So I want you guys to monitor your intake on water. Now, your employers will do everything within their power to remind you guys, hey, make sure to drink water. But the reality is it comes down to you guys. They cannot grab their bottle and say, here, drink this, right? They just can't do that. But they depend on you as employees to make sure that you guys are staying hydrated daily as you guys are going out there. So 4 cups within 1 hour. Now, I'm a coffee drinker. I had my coffee right before I came. Is coffee or caffeine good for my body as I'm just about to start working in hot temperatures? Why not?
Dehydrate you.
Dehydrate. It's a diuretic. So it does the complete opposite of the hydration. It starts to expel some of the liquids within your body. And again, not to get too personal here, but the reality is I have to go a lot more than I would have I been drinking water. When I drink a lot of coffee, I have to go a little bit more often. And that's because, again, it's a diuretic. So it's important that if you guys are drinking your Monsters, here's the rule of thumb. If you guys are drinking Monsters, your teas, your coffees, Red Bulls, whatever has high caffeine in it, that you substitute it with that you add a cup of water for that beverage that you're drinking. So you're drinking that coffee, drink a cup of water to replenish what you're about to expel. Okay, if I have a can of Red Bull, a can of water. So the equivalent of what you're drinking caffeinated, you should be drinking the water. Not talking about your hydration of 4 cups every hour. This is completely separate. So it's important as you guys go out there, and again, to take coffee away from me, you got good luck, right? But what I'm trying to tell you is be mindful of how much you should be drinking because of the caffeine that you're putting in your body, okay? The other thing that we want to talk about is acclimatization. Are you guys familiar with that term? Okay, so Alan, tell me a little bit about what acclimatization is.
Well, if you want to acclimate to your environment, so you want to, not have long sleeves for an example, or don't have a jacket on if it's hot. Basically, you want to try to make yourself as comfortable as you can in the environment you're in.
Perfect answer. There was a case in June 26, 2006. 41-year-old John Doe went out to a site. Okay, very first day of working. Okay, he had 2 children at home and a wonderful wife. So he's working. He's laying some pipe, 12-inch PVC pipe. Okay, so he's working in a trench about 4 feet. Okay, so it doesn't seem that rough. He started his day at about 8:30. So he's working, very first day, mind you, working and working. About 12:30, he takes his lunch. He doesn't eat anything. His co-worker saw him drinking water, which good. Gets back to work. Excuse me. He's working. At about 5:30, shift is over. Okay, now he parked his car at an industrial site away from where the employees typically park. So one of his coworkers said, hey, can I give you a drive over to the site where you park? Sure, if you could. Drives him over. Drops him off. Employee takes off. John Doe's there just about to get into his vehicle. The next thing we find out is an employee walking away from that industrial site is taking out some scrap metal. Notices a body laying on the floor. Goes up to John Doe, trying to revive him, trying to help him out. At this point, he's unconscious. Calls 911, calls his supervisor. They're trying to cool him down, trying to revive him. At this point, it's pointless. This gentleman had passed away due to a heat stroke. Okay, so this father of 2, husband, son, passed away, leaving behind his family. So I say this because I want to make this personal for you guys. Okay, we all have families, we all have loved ones, we all have things that we want to get to at the end of the day. So it's important that you guys put that at the forefront as you guys are going to these job sites. I want you guys to realize that this is all dependent on you hydrating yourself, using the material that is given to you by your company to make sure that you guys make it home at the end of the day. So it's important for you guys to keep this in mind. Make safety personal for yourselves. Okay? The next thing is, as Alan mentioned, PPEs, long sleeve shirts, hats. Okay? If you guys are getting that sun beaming on you, sometimes a hat might be really helpful for you. Long sleeve shirt might keep that heat from imposing on your skin. So these are the kind of things that you guys want to be mindful as you guys are going to your job sites. Shade, that's another very important thing. So in order for a body to regulate its own body temperature, what's the normal body temperature that our body should be at?
98.7 or was it?
Yeah, just about, 98.6, 98.7. within that ballpark, but you got it right. You got it right. As long as you say you didn't say 106.7, right? That's
That was my next guess.
so that's the body temperature that is typically considered normal. And it varies from person to person. That's where it should be at. As I mentioned before, our body temperature is self-regulated. I don't need to do anything at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day to regulate that. Automated, and it's something that our bodies just naturally do. When we get into shade from that imposing heat from the sun, it allows our body temperature to naturally return to its normal state. Mind you, I'm gonna go back out, it's gonna rise again. So I have to go to that shade. Same thing with hydration. So those are the key two things that you guys wanna do. Hydrate, shade, if you guys are under the sun and working with high temperatures or in a high temperature area. These next illnesses that I'm gonna mention to you guys can be solved or prevented by using some of these basic things that I just told you. So the next thing that we're going to be talking about, heat illnesses, okay? We talked about heat stroke, but we'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to mention a couple to you that can occur, may occur, and then what are the symptoms associated with it. Now, as you guys go to job sites, do you guys go in two men, women teams?
No, sometimes individuals, sometimes two.
Okay. So the reason I ask this is if you guys are going out in teams, I want you guys to look at symptoms as your employee partner is working with you. If you notice that you need to check them and say, hey, wait a second, you need to go drink some water, it's about time. Or hey, why don't you go into the shade for a little bit, allow your body temperature to regulate itself, okay? So let's talk about the first one, which is heat cramps. Now, for those of you that do exercise, you guys might be able to relate to something like this. When you guys are overexerting yourself, what happens is your ducts begin to get blocked. Your sweat glands begin to get blocked. What happens is you start to feel itchy, okay? You start to have redness within your skin, okay? You start to feel the cramps within your abdominal area. All these things are signs that your body's telling you, hey, wait a second, something is going on here. You need to stop for a second. What do you need to do? Hydrate and find some shade, okay? The next one that we'll be talking about is heat edema. Excuse me. So what this is your body, and for those of you that are typically in an office setting or sitting down, you might experience this. Excuse me. What it is that your body starts to experience this high heat within this temperature or controlled area. If the heat is high enough, your body starts to swell up, and typically what swells up is your fingers, your feet, within those regions. When something like that happens, if I'm sitting down, all the blood flow is going to these extremities, you start to swell up. So what do you do in those cases? I'm sitting down at the desk, I'm typing away, and I'm getting a little bit swollen here. What do?
You're gonna move around.
Let me get up. Let me walk outside from this really hot area. Let me cool down. Okay. Next one that we're going to talk about is considered heat stress. So heat stress, some of the signs that you guys are going to notice is hyperventilation. I can't breathe. I feel like I can't breathe. Okay? Another thing that you might feel is numbness. And typically the numbness starts to associate with your hands and your feet again. Okay? Muscle spasms. So you're going to notice twitching within your muscles. Some people have reported that it's typically within their face that they start to feel these muscle spasms. But it's, excuse me, it's not associated just to the face. You can feel it throughout your body. Some people said that during their biceps actually start to twitch a little bit as well. But it can be all around your body that you feel this. You start to feel tingling. That numbing sensation associated also with the tingling. Okay? Heat syncope. Okay? So what is that? Now, what we're talking about here in cases like this, it's low blood pressure within our body. So the same thing that we talked about, the gravitational fluids within our body start to sink down. And as I mentioned before, they start to hit our extremities, our hands. As I mentioned before, they start to swell. However, in this case, you start to feel faint. You know what? I can't stand properly anymore. I'm like blinking my eyes. I'm trying to figure out what's left, right, up or down. In this case, you also feel excessive thirst. That's one of the things that can be very, very important as you start to feel that thirst. Why do you feel thirst? Why do you guys think you feel thirst? There's something important in this.
Your body's telling you.
Your body's telling you, but even more so, taking it a step further, your body's already saying, I'm dehydrated. It's that mechanism that kicks on that says, I need water. because I'm already deprived of it. So you've already gotten to the dehydrated stage. Once you feel thirsty, you're already there, okay? You start to vomit, okay? In cases, people start to vomit in this stage. Now, I want you guys to be mindful of this. It's not an escalating stage where you feel sick with, let's say, cramps first, and then I start to feel the heat stress, and then eventually I get to a stroke. Sometimes it might just jump all the way to heat stroke. So it's important that you guys are mindful that it's not a stage that you guys get to, okay? The next thing that we're going to be talking about is heat exhaustion. Here's the thing. My body is still sweating at this stage. Why is that important? Why is that important? I'm sweating, which is good. Why is it good?
I'm just trying to cool you down.
Your body's still trying to cool you down. Awesome answer. Exactly. Your body is still sweating, so it's still trying to cool itself down. Because believe it or not, folks, your body's going to get to a point where it says, I'm done. I can't do anything for you. Very similar to my son. His body said, I'm done. I've tried to help by expelling some of this heat. Excuse me. I can no longer do it anymore, which is not a very good thing. But in this stage, your body's still sweating. You're feeling weak. Just as I mentioned, I was descending that mountain. I'm feeling very weak. I'm feeling lethargic. You also start to feel a rise in your body temperature. You start to feel some of this. I feel really hot. Okay. You start to get headaches. You feel clammy. Okay. Your skin moisture, you feel it as well. It's excessive. Okay. You feel giddy. You feel nausea. Okay? These are some of the signs that you feel. Now the next step, folks, this is really important. If you've already gotten to this stage, there's a high likelihood that you won't know you've gotten to this stage. The reason I say that is you begin to hallucinate when you have a heat stroke, okay? You start to, if you guys remember those cartoons, Bugs Bunny, he sees mirages as he's in the desert kind of thing. That's very true. Our bodies start to see things that are not there. You don't know what up is. You don't know what down is. You don't know what left or right is. So this is very important at this stage, that if you see it amongst your colleagues, that you pull them out and you start to get medical service involved. Because this is fatal. You can go into a coma. Very similar to John Doe, as I mentioned to you. Went into a coma and died on the spot. Some of the things that you'll also notice within this stage, seizures. Okay, you'll notice that this individual has difficult breathing. I can't breathe. Okay, strange behavior, as I mentioned, hallucinations. Okay, disoriented. The individual starts to babble. Why does the individual start to babble? Why is he speaking or she speaking incoherent? Why do you guys think?
No oxygen in the brain.
No oxygen, and at this point, it's trying to reserve everything within its body just to keep it sustained when it comes to body temperature. Okay? Because at this point, the body cannot self-regulate its temperature anymore. So it's starting to send all these different things saying, I'm in survival mode. I'm trying to last as much as I can so I can survive this occasion. But it's getting to that point, folks. If you notice, and this is really important, if you notice these symptoms, get medical attention immediately. Take yourself out of that situation, drink water. Now, if the individual is vomiting or cannot sustain that water within their body, it's important that you get medical services involved immediately. Literature will tell you, hey, you can still try to cool the person down, that's great. Please try to do so. I highly encourage you to call 911. Highly encourage you. Because those seconds could lead to saving this individual's life that might be going into a coma, to a seizure, and eventually, ultimately, death. Okay? So keep this in mind. But, folks, we mentioned already all these things can be highly prevented if we're following the basic things that we talked about. Shade, drinking water, preparing the day before, as I mentioned to you guys. Drinking water. If I know that it's summertime, I'm going into an area here in Irvine. I know temperatures in the morning, because every morning, to be honest, I always check the temperature for my boys. What kind of clothes am I going to put on them? How hot is it going to be outside? I don't want to send them with the trench coat. It's going to be 105 degrees outside, right? So it's important that you guys are doing this for yourselves. Hey, let me check what the temperature is going to be like today. We have the apparatuses today to do so. Oh, it's going to be really hot. Let me start to hydrate. Let me make sure I have sufficient water for the course of the day. Alex said 4 cups of water, so I'm going to need to have a lot of water for that day. It's important that you guys are doing this. Your employers are going to provide as much as possible, but as I mentioned at the beginning, ultimately you are each responsible for yourselves. Is there any questions that you guys have pertaining either to this material, illness prevention, or anything else safety related?
I'm gonna add something to that. So, this is a personal experience, well, not personally to me, but someone that I know. How many of you guys drink alcohol? Occasionally or all the time? Either way. Alcohol also does what? Dehydrates you. So what happens when when Alex is talking about like the night before being prepared for the next day. So let's say tomorrow's gonna be, I'm drinking tonight, I'm having a few beers or whatever, and tomorrow I'm gonna be working in an attic or I'm gonna be working in a hot place. You have to hydrate that much more. So some people are smart enough that after they have a good, few drinks at night before they go to bed, they drink a real big cup of water or something like that, right? That's really important to think about. Because that's part of your, you don't want to wake up in the morning dehydrated and you're not thinking about it, you're just getting up and rolling out of bed trying to get to work. Now you're going to go work in a hot attic all day long. It's not good. Because your body, without being hydrated from the day before, or the night before, you're kind of starting off in a bad spot. And now you're working in your attic all day, you don't have time to hydrate, you're not going up and down the stairs and getting the water as you should. It's just another thing that you can think about in addition to caffeine. A lot of people don't think about that. But I had somebody that was doing that, partying that before, came in, was working in an attic, doing a repipe, and didn't have heat stroke, but he was definitely had heat exhaustion. He was on the ground, had to call 911. So we found out that he was drinking the night before with some of the other guys and didn't get hydrated. So it can happen that way as well.
It's really good. It's important that you guys point this out to your employers as well. If you guys are working single, as you guys are going out to these job sites, if this is happening to you, now somebody mentioned that they either knew a person or they themselves actually got dizzy and fainted. If this is going on, make sure that you guys are discussing this with your employer, because it's only then that they can assist you in preventing this from happening to you ever again. Because if it happens to you, it might happen to somebody else, or the next time that it happens, you might not be as lucky to say, hey, I got it from this faint that I just had. So it's important that you guys are communicating with your employer. The reason that I'm here is because safety is very important. And not only that, safety is very important, safety is very important for you guys. Okay, so it's important that you guys start to keep that in mind as you guys go out there, or discuss this with your employer as you guys are going out there, whether it's heat illness prevention or anything else for that matter. Because at the end of the day, it's all gonna affect you. John Doe didn't make it home that day to his wife and his kids. Don't want that to be the case with you guys. Whether it's driving out on the streets on cell phones and it's something that you can put yourself in a spot, not having the necessary equipment that you guys need, or putting yourself in a spot where harm could befall on you. Okay, very important that you guys keep that in mind. But again, any questions either associated to this or anything else safety related? Please do.
So is it true if you're sweating a lot and you're drinking lots of water, you're not gonna go to the restroom as much, not urinate as much? Is that...
And I'm glad that you brought this up, because I'm gonna add to that. Is it true? Not necessarily, because again, all of us are completely different, so as much as we urinate should be as much as we're intaking, okay? Now, when you start to do it frequently, there might be some medical issue that's associated, or it might be that, again, you're drinking something that's a diuretic that's gonna cause you to go more. But it should be an even balance. When I'm drinking water, within a couple of hours, dependent, again, and I try to use the term normal very, very few times, because again, normal is not going to be the same for me as it is for Jay or as it is for Nick or anybody else for that matter. So it's important that you guys keep in mind, but I should be going fairly often. As much as I'm drinking, within a couple of hours, if that, I should be using the restroom. But if I'm doing it more frequent, that means I'm losing a lot more fluids. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I just, it actually, it happened to me. I was in Orlando like a long time ago as a helper, construction site, working, and I was sweating like if I would come out of the building, it would look like I just took a shower with my clothes on. But I wouldn't go to the restroom as much, so I don't know. I mean, some of the guys were saying it's because you're sweating it out. So.
Oh, okay. And in that case, yes and no. Yes, completely different. So the fluids that we expel are not the same that we're intaking in per se. Okay, so it's completely different. So what I should be drinking, again, essentially I should be expelling through urination. Okay, the body's sweating a little bit different. Now again, everybody's different. Like myself, I sweat a lot, guys. Not to get too personal, but I sweat even in cold conditions because again, my weight, my age, a lot of medical association to it. All these different things cause me to be a little bit different from you guys, or some of you might be the same as me. But the point being is, as much as you're intaking in, you should be expelling out. Now, talking about urinating, okay, again, not getting too personal. When you go to the restroom, if you look at, your urination, your urine, it should be clear. That's a good sign saying, hey, I'm drinking sufficient liquids. As it starts to get to the yellow, your body's telling you, I need a little bit more electrolytes or salt within my body, fluids. As it gets to the orange, you guys are in very serious need of some medical type of attention. Your body's telling you, I'm completely dehydrated. So monitor that and let that be a monitor for you guys as you guys go, oh, I need a little bit more water in my system. Last thing I'll add, and I'm open to any other questions, I did a fast, and it was just to try to test my limitations, okay? I fasted for a month, about 28 days, 29, a little short of a month. I didn't eat any food whatsoever, not one morsel of food. All I drank was water. Okay, I saw it on YouTube and I was like, man, this is a challenge I want to do. I want to see if I can do this. I was able to sustain my body simply by drinking water and monitoring my urine to see if I had sufficient liquids within my body. I don't recommend that you guys do this. However, it was something that I personally wanted to do, but the point being is your body is able to sustain itself simply with water. That showed me the importance of drinking water and how much it's important to our bodies. So just to throw that out there. But again, I don't recommend that you guys do something like that. Is there any other questions that you guys have? No? Well, again, thank you so much, guys. I appreciate your time here with us. I hope that you guys took something with you. And as I said, make safety personal and important for you guys individually. Put aside your company for a second. Put aside everything else and focus on you. Why is it important for me to be safe every day? Why is it important for me to stay hydrated, as Alex is talking about? Make it important for you. For me, it's my 2 boys at home. That's why it's important for me to drive home safe and not be on my cell phone, drink sufficient water, or try to be as healthy as possible as I can be because of those 2 little boys that wait for me at home. Whatever that might be for you guys, put that at the forefront and make sure you guys are following all your safety regulations. All right? Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks,
Have a good
Alex.
one. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
And make sure that you guys sign that sign-in sheet. Pretty much what that says is that you guys were here, you guys listened to the information. If you guys have any questions, I'm gonna leave my business card here. You guys are more than welcome to give me a call at any time. If you guys are interested in me coming out to do a safety training session on something else that you guys think is important for you guys, talk to Alan and we might see if I can come out here to do that training session. All right? Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. You have anything, Kevin, you want to talk about today?
No, I'm good.
All right, let's get out there and get going, guys.
Get back to work.
Thanks,
Did
Alex.
everybody
My
sign
pleasure. I
it?
have to run over to the media. Is there anything else?
That's what Alex.
Oh, then very good. I just signed the blank.